right, we're good.
We're good. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about what you can build using AI, even if you're not technical. We're also going to tell you what you need to watch out for and how to get started. So, quick agenda for today. I'm going to introduce Al. He's a New Idea Machines CTO, and he's a developer with more than 30 years experience. And we're going to talk about, like I mentioned, what you can realistically build with AI, even if you've never coded before, what tools to use that are, user-friendly for beginners, how AI works when you're building your tool, how to prompt or speak to your AI, pitfalls to avoid, how to save money so you're not wasting money on the wrong platform. We'll touch on that in just a bit. And we're going to mention our upcoming bootcamp if you wish to dive into this further. So I'd like to introduce Al. We've built this presentation because we've seen a lot of mistakes. We speak to a lot of founders every week. And of course, founders are diving into using AI to build their own tools, which is wonderful. There's so much you can do with AI now. We just want to show you how to do it properly so that you don't make those expensive mistakes that we see other founders making. So as I mentioned, Al, he's our CTO. He has more than 33 years experience as a developer. He's worked at large organizations like City of Calgary, DC Bank, Travel Alberta, to name a few. So he's definitely been around the block a few times. He's also developed his own AI-assisted development process that he now teaches other developers when it comes to building those complex projects. And he's also built guardrails for non-technical founders who want to build their own prototype MVPs and want to keep AI on track instead of it, producing something that's not worth keeping. So with that introduction, I'll let Al take it over from here.
Hello, everybody. Nice to have you here, and thank you for joining us. So when you talk about this concept of vibe coding or AI development or AI in general, it's so vast, and you can do so many different things. But a lot of people, when they hear the terms like vibe coding and AI coding and stuff like that, they think about applications like building software, and that is certainly doable. But what we want people to realize is that you can do other things. You can do small tools for your business that don't involve like a full application. Maybe it's just a quick little tool that does one specific thing. You can do prototypes. If you are going to build an application, you can do a prototype so that you can play with it and give it some interaction with, we call them friendlies, people in your network that are willing to take a look at something that could break or isn't polished or finished, and actually work out the application to the point where when you do actually build the real application, it will be, you'll know exactly what you're building and why and who wants it. You can also build websites with AI tools, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Usually the go-to is Wix or WordPress or Squarespace or something like that, and they're very restrictive and very limiting. But what people can do nowadays is they can actually use an AI tool to build a full website and deploy it. And it can be very interactive, very exciting, and very visually stunning. You can also do, as I started to mention, tools. So you can build, I actually have had a number of situations throughout New Idea Machines needs where I just need to get a bunch of data into a certain system, or I just need to get a quick answer based on something. And you can build these little tools using AI, and they're not something you would deploy to the world and let other people use. They're just something that you're going to run on your own little machine to accomplish a task, and then potentially throw it away or leave it around to do something perhaps quarterly or annually that you need to do, and you just run it again, and then it stays on your machine. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize is these tools are very capable of building things like proposals and reports and other types of documents, and in producing actual professional looking PDFs. that you can share with your customers or your colleagues. So it's a lot more than just building apps. You can do quite a few different things. Now, AI, obviously, everybody nowadays knows what a large language model is. Very, very briefly, it's the implementation of AI where they've already trained it and it knows how to respond to English language, or in some cases, many different languages, and accomplish tasks on your behalf. These things are very, very smart and intelligent and capable, but they make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes you can even use your microphone and speak to it like a person and have a conversation while you're walking your dog, and it can actually, in the background, get a bunch of work done for you. The one thing that I love to tell people, because it's not perfect, it can't do everything, but really AI today is as bad as it's ever going to be. So if you think about that, if it can't do something, wait a week or a month and it'll probably be able to do it then. Things are changing so fast. We're on an exponential growth. I probably don't have to tell any of you that, because it's pretty obvious these days, especially when every second post in your LinkedIn or socials is about AI or somebody doing something with AI. Yeah, so one thing that people don't realize is that there are limitations to what AI can do. And if you don't pay close attention, you can get bitten. The purpose of AI and the way that it was developed by these big companies is to get you your answers as quickly as possible. As a result, it can be inconsistent. It can create artifacts and applications and tools that are quick and dirty and often ignore all security practices. Some people believe that you just tell it, oh, and make this secure, and then that'll solve all the problems. But making something secure isn't necessarily, it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody or every AI. Even though myself and other experts in the field try hard to hammer this point home, people still ignore it. So don't be one of those people. The amount of work that goes into making software secure is an immense amount of work, and it isn't a one and done thing. It's an ongoing process. Also, there's a lot of other pieces to it that aren't literally code. Sometimes there's certifications or documentation and acknowledgements of defining who the privacy officer of your company is and stuff like that. There's so much to it, and having a professional that can help you through that stuff will save you a lot of time and headaches in the future, and potentially a lot of money. Unfortunately, today, and likely for a long time into the future, you still do require an experienced professional to help you create a secure and scalable platform. But there are some things you can do to get down the road safely. Using AI to build tools is right for certain situations. So here's some examples. If you want to test or validate a prototype or an idea before you invest a lot of money in it, you could probably whip something together in a weekend, and then be able to share it with people and let them try it, let them play with it and give you feedback. But that's not something that you want to go live and start onboarding users and taking people's money. That would be a horrible disaster. There's some really good examples out there of people who did that and ended up getting in big lawsuits. So be careful with that. Also, if you want to communicate with a developer about the application that you want them to build, what better way than having an actual working prototype that you can say, this is what I want you to build this. And then there's no miscommunication or ambiguity of what you were really asking for. Also, for showing investors that if you are going to be dealing with venture capital in any respect, they don't give money for ideas. They give money for something that actually exists. So if you can demonstrate to them your prototype to show them this is what we're doing, this is why I need the money, that can get you extensively farther than just saying, hey, I've got this great idea, give me money. And then, like I had mentioned earlier, the internal tools are really, really powerful because sometimes you just need a lot of help doing something that's monotonous and tedious and is a ton of work. And if you can actually have the AI build you a tool to do that work for you, a few minutes of twiddling and fiddling with something could get you to the point where you save hours and hours, potentially every day or every week or every month. However often it is you need to do that specific task. When it comes to vibe coding, like we say here, good vibes can start the journey, but a solid plan gets you to the destination. So what people suffer with a lot is when they're building software or applications or tools or what have you, they basically just say, build me an application that does X, Y, and Z, and then they just let it rip. And that's going to get you a giant piece of poop. And you want to make sure that you have a plan ahead of time. And so if you understand the structure of how an application works, and by the way, this is a small amount of education. This is not you learning how to become a software developer. This is just understanding what the architectures of applications are and why they are that way. And then when you're talking to your AI and having it build something for you, you can express that information to it and say, use this framework, use this library, use this methodology of building something. And then that way you're going to get a much, much better solution than if you just vibe it out based on a starting paragraph of 3 sentences. What we have here is, I'm going to go through 10 pitfalls when founders build without guardrails. And just to briefly suggest what guardrails are, like I said, when you tell an AI to do something, it's going to just do the quick and dirty way of getting it to you. But by providing it with guardrails, you're telling it, do not do this, don't ever do this, always do this. And you're giving it these guardrails, kind of like if you've ever been bowling, which I'm sure everybody has, and you throw the ball down. For little kids, some of the bowling lanes have these little guardrails that pop up so the ball can bounce off the guardrails and still hit the pins. The rest of us adults, we have to throw it in the gutter and lose that shot. But guardrails help prevent the AI from doing silly things. So here's pitfall 1 of 10. You don't use guardrails. You build fast, the tool works today, but it's messy, disconnected, and impossible to build on. Adding 1 new feature breaks 3 others, and fixing 1 bug creates 2 more. This is called technical debt, and it compounds and will cost you more to fix than it would have cost you to build it from day 1. And the benefit of doing this right is every feature you add in the future works with what you built, not against it. The second is not using security or not understanding security. You allow the AI tool to build something and connect to a backend, and you have this application that really works, and you're like all excited. People can log in and store information and retrieve information, and you're like, oh, there's a publish button. I can just click publish and go live. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Your tool has data in it, customer names, email addresses, maybe payment information. Without proper security, that data is exposed. You face a legal liability. You lose the trust of every customer you worked on to get, and potentially not even recoverable. And security is invisible until it fails, but then it's too late. Another thing is vendor lock-in. Many of these AI tools that allow you to vibe code your solution, they deliberately lock you into their environment. So they have a publish button. So your app is all beautiful and working perfectly, and you click publish, and now you're locked into that AI environment, paying whatever they charge you from now on. And imagine if you did build an app and you went live and you had 1,000 people using it, and then they decided to, or they ended up going out of business, or they decided to raise prices on you, there's nothing you could do about it because your app is built in their environment using their hosting, and you're stuck. Some platforms own your code. Other ones allow you to export it or move it around. If you don't have your code, you can't hand it to a developer when you're ready to grow. In some cases, if your app is built correctly and you used guardrails and it's got a good architecture, then developers can take it and run with it and build on all the other pieces that you need and make it secure and scalable. However, if it's locked into some environment, you're throwing it away and starting all over from scratch, guaranteed. Building something that can't grow. What works for 10 users may break at 1,000 users or 10,000 users. If you don't build with growth in mind from the very, very beginning, then you'll have to rebuild it from scratch exactly when when your business needs you the most. So ahead of time, when your business grows, you want the application to be able to scale automatically with the growth and not have to redo it from scratch. Cost surprises: if you build a significant portion of your app with the free credits on your AI tool, what you'll find out is that there's a lot more work to do, and your credits add up very, very quickly. So if you start with a couple sentences or a couple paragraphs, and then you just build and build and build and build and build, you're going to realize that a lot of code is getting rewritten. Your architecture is being redone behind the scenes. You're actually spending a lot of credits that you don't need to spend. So being organized and ahead of time and having your guardrails and everything in place will save you actual money in AI credits. Vague prompts produce vague results. You need to have a plan. You need to know what you're building before you build it. So take that time. A good example, this is a real life example. I was working with somebody and they wanted to add a button, and they said, put the button underneath the form. And so the AI decided that what they meant was to click into the form and then put the button inside of the form instead of putting the button below the form. So sometimes the words you use can cause problems. And so you have to have some understanding there. And that also, leads to a slide coming up in a couple seconds here, which is about having to have your code into a repository so that you can roll back if something goes wrong. Also, if you build with no structure, when you fix something or add something, it can actually break things. The example you have here is you fix something on the add customer screen, but the AI didn't fix the edit customer screen as well. The view customer looks different everywhere in the application because the AI didn't have the context of the fact that view customer exists on several different screens. And so every time you needed a view customer, it created a brand new view customer. And now you have multiple view customers across your application instead of just one, which becomes a maintenance nightmare. So if you, every app is made of components, like these pieces that represent data and buttons and pages and forms and drop downs, etc. In a properly designed application, these things are reused, so everything is consistent and easy to maintain. If you don't understand the basic structure before you build, you end up with something that looks like it looks fine, but it's impossible to navigate, fix, or hand off to a developer. Here's the slide I was just referring to. You make a change, it breaks everything. You don't know how to get back to the version that worked. This is also a downside of the AI tools that do not let you pull your source code out. If your source code is all locked away behind a wall and something goes wrong and you're unable to roll back to everything that used to work, and now you're essentially fighting with it for hours and spending a lot of money and credits, or you're going to have to start from scratch to get back to where it was working properly, and nobody wants that. One of the other things too is some tools allow you to connect directly to Supabase for authentication and data persistence, which is a good thing from a conceptual perspective, but it's actually not a good thing when you're talking about a scalable and strong secure application. Your front end should have a proper security layer between you and the database. The front end should never, ever connect to the database directly unless you're building a little tool that you're going to run on your own machine every quarter to do some specific task. Then it doesn't matter. If you're putting an application out on the internet for people to use, you want a very strong barrier between your application front end and the database that you're connecting to. And Supabase is an absolutely brilliant database. I use it myself quite often, but it's always off in the background, and the only thing that can access it is the application that I have hosted in the cloud. And then my front end connects to the application, not to the database. And that way I can put in security. When somebody types in some information, I can review that information and make sure that they didn't put anything bad into it before it goes into the database. All those sorts of things are what a developer does because we understand architecture and structure. And so learning those little pieces can make a big difference for you. But again, you still have the ability to build a prototype or a tool or a PDF or a website without having to worry about this particular piece. But if you do want to build an application that you're going to have people sign up and use, I do not recommend ever connecting a front end directly to a database. That's just not a good idea. Starting to build before you know what you're building. This is one of the biggest mistakes of all and very common. Before you write a single prompt, you need clear answers on what problem does the tool solve. One of my mentors used to always say, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. If you can noodle on the problem and share the problem with people before you build a solution, you're going to get a much better product. Who's it for specifically? What's your specific user that's going to love your application? Who are they? What do they want? Don't build features because you think they're cool. Build features because your customer wants them. What does it need to do on day one? And that's really, really important because the very first application that you launch shouldn't be feature rich. It shouldn't have all kinds of tools in it because you're going to find that nobody uses any of them. They're going to have some specific tool or some specific need, and they're going to need those specific features for that need. And all the other stuff is just noise that irritates them. And then what does the structure look like before the AI touches it? You want to make sure that you understand how the application is going to be laid out. And back when I said the small amount of learning that you really want to do is about architectures and structures, about applications, nothing to do with the specific coding part, because AI can do the coding for you. But it's really important that you understand what you're building and why. Now, if what you're building is a prototype, it's not a finished product, and that's the whole point. A prototype lets you test your idea before spending a ton of money. It lets you show investors something that's real and tangible, and lets you find out what needs to change before it's expensive to change it. So letting users use it and play with it in a controlled environment. Like, hello, my friend Lucy. This is a very, very basic prototype just to prove the concept. It doesn't actually, it's not actually live on the internet where people can sign up and use it, but I want you to give it a try and play with it and give me your feedback. That's kind of where you want to go with this. And it validates your market before you overbuild. You're not becoming a developer. You don't need to learn how to write code at all. You don't need to look at a line of code at all. and you're not building a finished commercial product because the tools are not where they need to be, and who knows when or if they'll ever get to that point where you can safely build something. And you're not skipping the need for a developer eventually. You're just not starting there. A lot of people blow very large amounts of money on software developers to build their prototypes when they could have done it themselves. And this one's for Ria.
Thanks, Al. Okay, so you now know what you can build using AI, even if you're not technical. As Al mentioned, prototypes, obviously, websites, presentations. The cool thing about presentations and websites, you don't have to really know very much at all. You can just give it the outline of what you'd like. You give it the content that you've settled on. Of course, AI will generate content for you if you give it enough information, but in my experience, you're always better off doing that on your own, refining that content, but it's a good starting point. So if you're still feeling a little bit apprehensive about doing this on your own, we do have an upcoming boot camp on May 23rd and 24th. And this is led by Al, and you're going to learn how to build your specific project. So whether that's a prototype, website, or anything else, it's hyper specialized. We ran this boot camp last fall in partnership with Calgary Innovation Coalition. We had 40 non-technical entrepreneurs, and thankfully 20 of them launched their businesses within 6 months after that weekend that we had with them. And one of them made 11 sales in her first month. So what Al's teaching is just the nuts and bolts of what you need to hit the ground running. And of course, the one that did sell, have 11 sales in her first month, she had said, I just want to share that I did launch my business. Today is my official 1-month anniversary, and I have made 11 sales so far. So she's quite pleased. Al, can you go to the next slide, please? Because oh yeah, thank you. You're already ahead of me. If you want to build your project yourself and you want support from an experienced developer like Al, please consider joining us later this month. On Saturday, it'll be 3 hours. And on Sunday, it'll be 2 hours. And then you also get Al's guardrails that he talked about, which program the AI model to tell it what it can and cannot do so that you are building something that is far more secure and unbreakable than learning and through trial and error on your own. And again, you don't have to look at code. You don't have to be technical. The entrepreneurs that we had in the boot camp, they were not technical at all. They just had an idea and they wanted to learn how to bring that idea to life. So if you can type or if you can speak to your phone, you can build it. And plus, we're also going to have office hours. Lucia's on our call today. She's one of our developers. She'll be the developer that you speak to should you encounter any hurdles. She'll help you troubleshoot that during office hours for that additional support. So if this is something that you're interested in, kindly scan the QR code and you'll learn more about this workshop, what's included. We do use Lovable because we found it to be very user-friendly. It's not technical, it's not overwhelming at all. You simply type in your prompts and it gets to work. So if you have any questions about this or anything else that we covered today, please let us know. This is our Q&A period.
Thank you. This was great. I was wondering about sort of thinking further down the roadmap. So step one, you can you create the prototype. Like step two, you get some help from developers. What are your thoughts on best practices and pitfalls for taking what developers have made and then using AI to say add a new feature or change it in some way as part of the continuous iteration process?
I love that question, Rudy. That's absolutely brilliant. If you have access to the source code, and you should, if you don't, if your developer built it and you don't have access to source code, that's a bad situation. So watch Ria's video, pre-recorded video of the pit that she had done. But once you have access to your source code and just a little bit of knowledge of how to bring it to your machine, your local computer, and then be able to run an AI against it, yes, you actually can do some basic changes and fixes to it. I don't know if I would recommend adding like a whole new feature set, but you can do quite a bit yourself. And I can also provide some, actually, I think we're planning on providing some more educational courses in that direction, because that's really what people want to learn these days. And it's certainly viable to do that. I will say, just as a caveat, if a developer is actively working on your source code and building something for you, please do not go and do stuff as you have time, because it will absolutely drive them nuts, and it could potentially break a lot of the stuff that they've already been starting in working on. But if you're at that point where they've built you your prototype or your MVP or something like that, and you're either no longer working with them, or you're going to come back and hire them at some future date, well, it's at a state where it's quote unquote complete, and you have the source code. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go ahead and add some additional features or tweak things the way you want them.
Awesome. Awesome. As a follow-up to that, do you have any thoughts on the best tool for that? Like, there's Lovable, there's Curse, there's Claude Code. I'm sure there's others that I'm not thinking of right now. You mentioned Lovable is best for prototyping.
If you're building a prototype from scratch, we strongly recommend Lovable. Lovable has the ability to connect to GitHub so that your code is live in a repository and safe. However, if you have an existing application that developers built for you, and you're now going to go into it and start enhancing it on your own, my recommendation would be Claude Code. You do need to get a little bit more technical, but you still don't need to be able to read source code. But when going back to what I said earlier in the slides about having that basic understanding of how software is built and the architectures and the libraries that are involved and stuff like that, that is the knowledge you're going to need. And we're in the middle of putting together a course on that, because I find it incredibly valuable, whether people are vibe coding or if they just need to understand what their development team is doing. It can be extremely valuable. So watch for that course coming out soon.
Awesome. Perfect. Is there a way I can get on the mailing list or something for when that course comes out?
Sure. If you go to, well, I think right now, if you go to, I think it's get started at newideamachine.com, and just drop us a line and let us know what you need. I think once the course gets finished and it's available, we're going to have a separate sign up screen for that.
Yeah, Rudy, I put my email in chat. Just email me directly, and that way my AI assistant will remind me to reach out to you, so I won't forget.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. There's getting some help from a developer to turn a prototype into a working piece, and then, but because it's kind of what you described, Al, like I'll have them for a while, maybe back later, but I think there's going to be a period where I'll be looking to do some iteration on my own to the extent possible, and so it would be great to learn more about that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
And Rudy, have you messed around with code before? Like, are you comfortable kind of playing around with code?
I mean, my background is finance and tech companies. I don't know how to code myself. So if you I can, like I would put my knowledge that I know what an API is, but if you ask me to code something up solo, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay. Okay, no worries.
Imagine you're mean with spreadsheets, though.
You get good at what you spend years doing, and
That's right.
Spend a lot of time with spreadsheets and not a lot of time building apps.
That's fair. Any other questions? Okay, well, if you do have any questions that come to mind, my email's in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me or reach out to us through our website. If you want more information about the course and what it entails, like I mentioned, there's the QR code. It's going to be the first of many, because the last year when we ran it, like I said, it was in partnership with Calgary Innovation Coalition, and we could only accept 40 students, and we had more than 70 apply. So there's definitely demand for it. As we plan on running this, very, very often. So if any questions, or if you're interested in taking this course at a later date, just reach out to us. Thanks, Deanna. Glad you can join us. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have yourselves a great day.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to stop recording, Al?
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. I'll stop recording.